and today we are going to be covering what is happening in the world of marketing this month. I almost stumbled and completely fumbled the ball there, but I didn't. I've saved it the last second, so I'm going to take that. And my name is Phelan. I'm with Seymour Digital Media.
And I'm Rena from Little Works Indie Media.
And I'm Greg with Original 72 Creative.
Okay, awesome. And so today, I'm sure everyone is aware that there's been quite a bit of news, especially in regards to the social media space. And we
Totally.
are going to probably dedicate a majority of the time, but I wanted to get a couple of little odds and ends out at the start. So one that just got announced today that I'm very excited about is Google Ads is getting a complete overhaul of reporting and abilities to do tracking inside of a Performance Max campaign. Because if anyone has ever set up a Performance Max campaign, it basically is like they felt so jealous of Facebook ads and how little control you had over what you could do with them that they're like, hey, why don't we replicate that with Google Ads? And so now they've had such a clamor that it's now they're going to open it up. You're going to be able to do cool stuff like only use. So before they would either you tell them expressly what pages to use or none. Like you say, use this page. That's the only page you can use. And now you can just do any page that contains blah blah blah. So really good for products like shirts. Like say I'm doing like only in this campaign, the shirts campaign. I want to have only the shirts. And have that, and then also exclude other things. So there's going to be a lot more control, provided that they actually implement everything that they say in their blog post. So I am excited because uh, it's very limited in what you can do right now, and so I think that's going to be very exciting. Um, well, it's good because if you run a lot of Google Ads, you're
Totally.
like I'm used to having like in like a basically like a airplane cockpit of like dials and controls that I can
Well,
maneuver whichever way.
totally. I was actually giggling at your pronunciation of exciting because it reminded me of exciting, which is kind of where the social media space is right now.
Oh yeah, it's definitely is that. So Rita, do where do we
Do
where
you
do
want me
we?
to just jump in and you guys
Yeah,
can just jump in when you feel like it? But oh my goodness, the change of government has changed almost all the things on
yeah,
social media. So we've got a bunch of stuff I just want to clarify. We had a 12-hour TikTok ban for America, which was a bit of a surprise. It happened earlier than it was supposed to, and creators were put back on. We have to look at it from a business perspective in terms of not their business because we're actually more concerned with our businesses. So, how
yeah.
businesses work on it, what the influencers are thinking and doing. Are they staying? Are they going? A lot of them went to um, red. What was the
Red
word
note.
that I owe? Red note. A lot of them went to red note. So it'll be interesting to see if they actually come back in full force. I think there's a lot of irritation on the app, a lot of people not happy. There was also this giant rumor that went totally viral that Shao Chu, the CEO of TikTok, had removed the CEO title on his bio. But when I looked into it, he never ever had it. So there was all this stuff. Is he the CEO? Is he not the CEO? But he has actually confirmed that himself on his channel. I saw that this morning. Pretty happy about that. And then I guess what's happening is that there's this entire time limit that Trump has given, so that there could be another. That he's extended the American buyer ability. So right now we've got a bunch of people. Early this morning, I saw that Frank McCourt from Project Liberty Consortium is looking to buy. They've put in an offer. YouTuber McBeast, Elon Musk, and Oracle chairman Larry
Ellison.
Ellison, I guess. Yeah, they're
L-
the ones that have sort of put things forward
So
that I can
Larry,
find in the news.
Larry Ellison was actually in the Trump's first term. Was the person
Right.
slated to do it? So he's the gentleman that runs Oracle. He's the
Hmm.
fourth or fifth richest person on the planet.
Hmm.
And Mr. Beast tweeted that he was talking to billionaires and he was going to buy it, but nothing's come out of that part.
He
Uh,
actually put in an application. He actually put in a
I,
proposal.
oh, he actually
Um,
did go through with that because
yeah, and
it was a tweet was the last thing I'd seen.
yeah, no, he was yeah. So yeah, he's tweeted or he said in the article that he has put forward a proposal that he was writing on his private jet. So, got
Kevin
that kind of
O'Leary
vibe.
also, I think, was
Yeah,
putting in
yeah.
or talking about
I
wanting
had
to
heard about
try to
that.
buy. Yeah.
I'd heard about that. I'm not sure how like grounded in
I,
real things that was. He was
I,
just kind
Yeah.
of talking. But
I
Frank McCourt was the most interesting with this Liberty Project Liberty Consortium because he basically is fine sharing the ownership, and as long as it's hosted on tech developed by his nonprofit. So I found that kind of an interesting caveat.
oh,
And
you missed one
sorry?
other person that was
Oh yeah, okay.
which was from the Chinese government had suggested Elon
All
Musk
right.
take over
All right.
because
But
it's
take
at
over or own it because they're two things that are those are two separate things.
so
Because I
it was own it, like it would be
okay.
become the so because ByteDance, which is the Chinese parent
Mm,
company, is it's at the whim of the Chinese government, right? Because they're in control of actually like the final say. It's not different than like the FTC saying like no, you can't have a merger. Similar
mm,
concept, but it was at the discretion. And since Elon Musk is very tied to the Chinese government because he makes Teslas there and he sells it in the largest market, which is
right.
China, he was very like it wasn't. So ByteDance said it was a fantasy, but really it's at the
Uh,
discretion, and no one really knows. Like it's one of those
That's
ones.
exactly right.
It's all chaos. Like it's like no
That's
one
exactly right.
really knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, so I was pretty interested to see that Xiao Chu was actually um he's sort of putting out there not very many details, but that he's willing to work with anybody. He's also put out the little statement that talks about how he's happy that Trump is trying to help him keep the app in America, which was, I guess, his little PR piece.
Yeah,
And so because of this, everyone's sort of scattered and trying to figure out what is the next app, like where are all the people going, where are the influencers going, anyways.
hmm
And so there was initially a surge on Meta of more users right before the ban, and then there was some issues that came up due to the government change on Meta also that put a real sour taste in people's mouths in terms of the users, not necessarily the influencers. So, I mean, we already know that on Instagram, it's really hard to get influencers don't like it because it's really hard to get their content to come up because there's just so much ads in the feed. Let's see if I can put the feed that goes down. What I know is that there are a lot of people that are actually swiping stories. This is what I hear a lot of the young people are doing. They're actually swiping stories, and there's much less advertisement in that space. So I'm looking at that, and the numbers reflect that. So my stories are going out to more people who are not my current followers, and that's what I like. I'm looking for greater reach to grow my community. So that's one thing. There has been, I guess, a little bit of extra usage on Pinterest. That's ad space. So ads have basically gone back to Meta. They've gone to Pinterest and they've gone to Google. And but users have gone sort of back to Meta and also to Red. Oh, I've
Red
done it
Note.
No.
again. Red Note. Thank you. And then the influencers are really also going back to YouTube. So it seems that YouTube has been the equivalent for the influencers. They're starting to build out their content on YouTube. So I'm sort of in the space where now, and I think there are probably a lot of people out there watching this for our clients, our connections, our community. We're sort of trying to figure out, okay, where do we advertise? Where do we put our organic content? And how do we manage all of this change while we're still waiting to see how it, settles and what happens.
Yeah,
So I haven't made any big changes in my social, other than because the ads are still performing fairly decently, quite well, and I never really did a lot of content on, Instagram versus TikTok. It was going to both platforms, so I'm still sending that content to both platforms. I have increased my stories, and then I'm going to take a look at, we've also put our reels up on YouTube too. So I'm going to look at how to optimize my reels better on YouTube for that to try and, scoop up some of those viewers. And then
yeah.
okay, so that's that, and that's one bucket. And then
I
I have
wanted
the
to I wanted
Yeah,
to also mention another one that I've heard people are, because everybody, leading up to the ban on TikTok was saying like, follow me on this, follow me on that, where you could consume their content if the ban, you know, was finalized. And
yeah,
I heard one where a bunch were saying Substack, and I
yeah,
didn't know about
yeah,
Substack.
yeah,
And so that one looks interesting because it is geared towards people creating communities and writers creating and
writers.
content creators
Yeah,
putting out their stuff. And then also the bigger one I think was just like follow me on my YouTube channel. So I think a lot of people
mhm.
were trying to get because it's video content
Yeah. So
over to YouTube. Yeah.
I think one of the better things about Substack, and that was sort of like one of the areas that I was going into, is that a lot of the creators are also just reinvigorating their email lists as a space. So it's not really social media, but there was a real push to get in touch so that you could actually access your your community afterwards. Because if you get pushed off of TikTok or any of these apps by having your account closed, you have no access.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think that there was a big push for people to sign up on newsletter lists, which was pretty interesting. Although it's not quite, it doesn't function the same. It doesn't give me the same dopamine hit that I love when I scroll. So I'm not sure that that's an alternate, but it's definitely one thing to consider and to make sure that you've got in your marketing mix.
Hmm.
I
So
was
then,
also going to
yeah,
say one thing about that as well, that there's been interesting comparisons on, let's say you're an influencer, and the ad revenue that you get from each platform.
yeah,
So far, the
yeah,
best payouts have been through YouTube Shorts
yeah,
of the
yeah,
short form video. They've,
yeah,
because YouTube is trying to hype it, they're trying to pay
yeah,
more people out so that they produce more content on
yes,
YouTube Shorts. Uh,
yes,
because they had basically a fork in the road, and they chose either YouTube Live or YouTube Shorts, and they chose to
yeah,
go with the Shorts. And there's some interesting comparisons on like ad revenue, compared to even like Twitch, to putting
hmm
like video, long form videos, or like having a video segment
hmm
on your Twitch account that people can see anytime. It's just
right.
pales in comparison to what YouTube's doing right now.
Yeah. So a couple of other things that happened out of this was the it was very quiet on YouTube, which actually there was this really interesting for the Canadians out there, Canadian push of content, and a lot of the Canadian influencers were actually given the opportunity to grow their follow base. Some of them were saying like 1,000 people in 12 hours. That's actually pretty good, you know?
Yeah,
So
it's
so that was kind of a nice little thing, and it just sort of brought up the whole conversation about CanCon. That I saw that also come up in TikTok. Like, why is that important? And some people were obviously dead against it. I think a lot of young people don't really understand the concept, but in terms of how it worked on TV and how it works in
video.
yeah, and why it actually helps to bring up those influencers. And interestingly enough, there were Canadians that were complaining, and they were influencers that didn't really have a very big following. So I thought that was pretty ironic. The second thing that came up is, let me see here. Um, Oh, yes, the Meta turned off. So this is another result of the government changeover. Meta turning off its misinformation control, so it's no longer doing the same kind of moderating that it was doing for specifically misinformation. So I wanted to talk about that really specifically because people didn't really seem to understand what that meant, other than what, what is misinformation? The fact checking ended, but it really was just not just, but because that was not it's not a just sorry, a piece of software that they were using um, to do this moderating has been turned off. That's how they described it in a longer form um, article that I found. And we've replaced it, or they've replaced it with community notes, which is quite similar to Twitter, I guess. But the one thing that is key for people, which is kind of interesting, is that community notes is not going to actually um, 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 it's
Remove
not
the
going,
content.
sorry, not that. That's not what I was saying. Sorry. It's not going to actually affect any kind of paid content. So if you want to get around the misinformation issue and avoid the community notes, you just have to turn your ads on and run an engagement on that piece. So we are going to probably get a lot of stuff that we're not going to like. I'm hoping that the echo chamber is going to stay nice so that I don't have to see any of the, Pizzagate stuff and all that weirdo stuff that was coming up for a while there.
I suspect that they are going to be opening themselves up because they're under Section 230 is what makes the internet work,
Hmm.
especially social media, where basically you're not liable. It's so complicated because
Hmm.
it's supposed to be what it was meant for was when they wrote it was for forums. Is that I host a
Hmm.
forum and I'm not liable for what's said on the forum by other
Yeah.
people, but I'm not going to edit it because if you edit anything that they say, then you're editing content. Now you're
Yeah.
dictating editorial content. And so
But
if you're just a host of this content, as long as it doesn't break any like explicit laws, then you're okay.
right, but here's the thing, the laws have changed in the United States. So they've actually removed the laws about dehumanizing speech about transgender people and immigrants, and they've killed the diversity and equity inclusion programs. So basically, I'm interested to see what's going to happen in the US compared to Canada because we still have laws in Canada, right? So is there going to be any liability over this for Canadians, just like how the Canadians had sued for advertising issues previously? There was a big lawsuit. I mean, what happens when somebody's bullied to death again? We're going to have to go through this whole thing all over again. And who is responsible for that when someone is bullied? So I'm not sure what this is going to be. I'm not looking forward to it at all. I'm hoping that my echo chamber follows me very closely and it doesn't change that much. But I think that if you're in the wrong space, it's not going to be very pleasant, you know?
Yeah, it's gonna be. I think that it's just too much instability right now for anyone to say with a
Hmm.
clear
Yeah.
idea that we
So
know what's gonna happen.
I'm hoping that whoever's looking at this, if you've got a different experience in your echo chamber and you've seen some notes, community standard notes or whatever, community notes, whatever they're calling them, can you screen cap them and share them? Because I'd like to see what they look like and how it works. I've yet to see one in Facebook. So
Yeah.
that's so that is those are the overarches. I'll put a whole bunch. I have got a whole pile of articles, so I will put a whole pile of articles for people to actually look. If there was one thing that we talked about that you're interested in finding out where I found this information, happy to provide that. And the news kind of shifted really quickly. So some of these articles that I have, I'm not actually talking about because it's already moved to the next to the next iteration.
Yeah.
And then the one thing that I did want to point out that is sort of like a nice little thing, Google Ads chat. Sorry, Google is adding chat to the US business listing pages. So that'll be fun to see how that works. So it almost feels like Google Business Listings is trying to think about its potential for social, like to be more social, like it's become the old Google Plus, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, so they'll be able to reach you directly. And it's weird because they got rid of messages not that long ago. We were able to get messages and they took that out. So I'm not sure what the
Yeah, was
difference.
that only a Canadian thing that
I
that
don't
you're
know.
that they that then removed?
I
Yeah,
Because that
I
used
don't
to be
know.
available for
Mhm.
for most Canadian
Yeah,
businesses. But I just
yeah.
assumed if we had it, they probably had it in the States. But
No, they
maybe
do
they
a
did.
lot of they do a lot of test marketing in Canadian places without America because it's just so much bigger with a bigger population, so they can do smaller areas with smaller people.
Yeah.
I've seen that before, so there are things that we get
so
first.
my understanding from how Facebook releases features,
Hmm.
having heard it from like one of their chief uh, senior developers, is they actually take a random assortment of 10% of the global population, doesn't matter where you are, and just 10% of people will get a feature or removed, and then they'll take those results in and see how people reacted and then expand that out further. So it's
Yeah,
always they're always constantly pushing out a thing and then pulling it back, and then we're going to do it
yeah,
over, and then they take
yeah,
those results and make determinations. And
yeah.
so
And I realized I just missed one little piece. So while I had said that the influencers were not that interested in going back to Instagram because of the ad saturation. There was this piece of information that went out in Ads Week that talked about how the data is showing that Reels on Facebook and Instagram have surged in this first quarter compared to previous years, probably as a result of trying to pick up that the influencers back into Instagram off of TikTok.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that yeah, right now it's just everyone's kind of figuring out where the new place to be is, and I think that it's yeah. There's just like I said before,
Yeah,
there's too much instability to be like, oh, this is obviously the new trend
yeah.
line.
I'm
Um,
not making any fast decisions, that's for sure, for my clients. But the other thing that you can do if you're very unhappy with Meta, which a lot of people are, a lot of people in my circles are really upset. You can turn your data collection off. So
yeah,
if you still want to be there and just and give them the old, you know, what for, turn your data off.
yeah, especially if you're on an iPhone, it's super
Mhm.
easy on an iPhone. Uh,
There
my
was
Google,
something I came across just in the last day or two, and I'm trying to find out more about it, and I haven't really determined whether any of it was true or not. But I had heard that there was potentially a new app called Skylight, either coming or maybe it's in beta for some people. And the reason why I came across it was because someone was saying if you're on Blue Sky, anything because the Blue Sky code base and this other new platform, which they called Skylight, were on the same sort of platforms. Anything that you posted on Blue Sky also was posted to Skylight. Um, and I'm trying to look into a little bit more information on this Skylight app, and I haven't really found anything concrete. Did you guys hear anything along those lines
No,
about something
I'm
like that?
No, I haven't heard that, but I will be looking into that soon. I'm already Googling it as you speak.
yeah,
It
yeah,
it seems that there are some people talking about it on TikTok, so it looks like it is growing quite quickly. But mind you, both of the videos come from one person, so there may be an affiliate link involved. But I don't see exactly like it doesn't actually come up to the top of my it's not first in the
yeah.
Google listings. Sorry, I can't
I,
look and speak at the same time.
so I found
Yeah.
them on
Anyways,
Blue
I
Sky.
I saw something about it, and I've been trying in some spare time to look into it and find out
Yeah,
if what I saw was true, because I do like Blue Sky much better than Instagram or
Twitter.
X. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
I will
if
never call it X.
Yeah,
if it's a platform that allows you to sync with
Yeah,
other social media accounts using similar code bases, then that would be convenient.
totally. And I'm looking at automating some of this stuff in the meantime so that I can actually get my business on, I'm keeping mine on Twitter for the moment just because I have a SaaS client. But and also some of these updates, the best updates that I saw on the changes for TikTok and all of that were journalists on X. So I don't really want to leave there yet because they're still doing some good work up there in very small bubbles. But I do want to get this similar content onto Blue Sky. So I'm looking at automations, and I think I'm going to start using more automations to try and sort of hedge my bets until something lands in the same way that, the mass mass tipping point hits, and then I'll be able to really just make a good decision.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I would say the Skylight as well. It looks like they're trying to be a TikTok alternative. I found their Blue Sky
Oh,
account,
Hmm.
and they said that
okay.
they're a
Right.
proto
Skylight
alt.
is supposed to be something that would be a replacement to TikTok. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's less because but Blue Sky is like more. because it's made by Jack Dorsey. It's like an alternative to Twitter, and
Hmm.
so yeah, I, I haven't found anything specifically about like what you post on there goes on the other one. That's not.
Well, there was something. What I had read was something about the like behind the scenes code or framework that it's all on. They were on. They had some similar framework that they were being built on, which allowed for the ability to, if you post on one, it goes on the other as well.
Yeah,
Again, it's something I just came across and I didn't research enough to, but it seemed like it was something that was interesting to follow up and learn more about.
fair. Yeah, I get that. Okay, so they're Blue Sky is built on React Native, which is a way you can build mobile apps. That's all in React, and it's conducive to both systems. It's a smart way to go if you're going to build an app. So I wonder, they're probably similar backends. One other one I think we should talk about as well is the announcement of the AI mega project, right? Because
Right.
3 Mile Island is coming online next month. So the famous nuclear reactor that melted down in the mid 80s, it had two of the turbines melted down. One of them has been in disuse and is now coming online specifically to help Microsoft with their AI. So I'm sure that's the tip of the spear for doing an energy mega project that they're going to be wanting to build. It's going to be so it may even be dead on arrival because Elon Musk is suing Sam Altman, the head of OpenAI, because Elon Musk used to be part of OpenAI and was unceremoniously kicked out, and so he was upset. And so I'm going to guess that there's going to be some behind the scenes infighting and cattiness going on. And I'm gonna guess that the project. I mean, it's like everything else we've said today. It's unclear what the if it's going to go through because we just don't know. Um,
Mhm.
there's just a lot of variables that are going into all of this that no one knows exactly how it's going to shake out once all the dust settles.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that is pretty interesting, and it will be interesting to see how all the relationships play out. You're right, because that's sort of what it is, and it's actually quite funny watching them in this sort of new phase where everyone feels a little bit um, trepidatious in their dealings with everything and what they're saying online and all that stuff, like in terms of the
Well,
big players. I'm not talking about the influencers. The influencers are right in there saying how it is for them, but the people that are looking at purchasing, the people that are the head of the platforms, they're all just they've all got an air of if I make the wrong move, everything's going to be ruined. you
yeah,
know?
as well, there's a couple of things, especially in the AI field, that AI is moving super quickly, and the law is
Hmm.
slow to catch up to them.
Hmm.
But there's a mouse in Florida that would very much like to might stomp out AI because Mickey Mouse, right? Like Disney is their entire brand is built on I have intellectual property and I will sue you out of existence, and they
And
have
actually,
infinite money.
that's yeah, that's actually quite hilarious because Disney is aggressive with its lawsuits for sure in that realm.
They
And
have the
they
money.
do have,
They have the
yeah,
money. They have the motivation. They have the
yeah.
lawyers that are really good.
So Disney's
And
gonna save us?
well, but that's the thing. It's I don't like that's the one thing that will destroy AI is any basic lawsuit
Yeah,
of hey, how did you get your training data? And they go because every time they've asked them, they stymied and they kind of like really sweaty and said, don't ask, because like they did stuff like scrape all YouTube to make video content.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
they've been pretty aggressive about getting this information that one strong lawsuit and this whole thing could like there's no legal justification for it because AI, especially for generative AI, is an obfuscation tool because it's
Yeah.
already been determined in the courts that anything generated by AI cannot be copywritten because there's
Mhm.
no clear creator. But the flip side of it is where did you get the training data? And
Mhm.
OpenAI is that's the reason why they ran to Microsoft is because Microsoft has really good lawyers too. So it would be Microsoft versus Disney in this fight, and so who knows how it's going to shake out. Anyway, the fun times ahead for everyone.
Agreed.
Yeah, because we have just hit 30 minutes, and so I think we're gonna wrap it up there. It's yeah, 2025 is gonna be an interesting year. I think we're all in agreement that it's. Uh, I think by
Starting
this
off
time,
with a bang.
yeah, yeah. Whatever it by the end of this year, it's going to be completely different than the way we started it. That's the only thing I'm
I
guaranteed
know
of.
our annual wrap up is going to be the best.
Yeah, red eyed from crying all year, something like that.
No, it's
Anyway,
going to be great.
oh yeah, no, it's going to be a good year. It's just going to be whatever. It's going to be different by the end of this year. That's the only thing I do know for sure. Anyway, we'll sign off here. My name is Phelan.
Oh, Rena, see you next week.
And I'm Greg. And next week, for the topic, we're looking at how to optimize your local listings for more traffic.
With
So
Rena and Pip.
that's going to be with Pip and Rena. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can join us